We heard a lot of nonsense with these anti-gun states and these politicians playing all these little games to ban your right to own a firearm, or to ban the most popular rifle there is, and limit your abilities to defend yourselves, and the whole 9 yards, right? Okay. William Ian here is 1799. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe anyway. Leave a comment down below and hit me that thumbs up too. Let's crawl in this rabbit hole a little bit. Let's expose some of the garbage that these politicians are playing games with. And you might find this interesting, why the lower courts scurry around this, why politicians totally ignore it. The Bill of Rights is our rights, and they are our freedoms, from the first, second, third, fourth, and on down. Some in the states, some politicians play this game, well, we'll recognize everything but the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is not a privilege, it's a right. They'll recognize a driver's license, a marriage license, or whatever, they're privileges, but not your Second Amendment rights. So they play this game. They try to turn around and they're trying to pick and choose or rewrite rules and laws. They want to take the entire Bill of Rights and just yank out what they think it should be in there and not what is in there. Lower courts, knowingly that there are certain rights in this thing, they just don't want to play the game with. Supreme Court, which was made up of Republicans and Democrats, did come together. They also went by history, text, tradition, and one other amendment. That amendment protects the Bill of Rights. It's called the Ninth Amendment. The Ninth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects unwritten individual rights that are not specifically listed in the Bill of Rights. Ratified December 15th, 1791, its core text states that listing specific rights does not mean people do not have other unspoken rights. See, the thing here is, it's protected. The Second Amendment is protected. First Amendment, Third, Fourth, Fifth, are all down the line. But the thing here is, persons like the politicians don't believe in it. They scurry around it. They ignore it. This was written by James Madison, by the way, who worried about the future. Madison, being a graduate of I think it was Yale University, I think it is. I haven't really looked that part up. Understood how politicians would think, what the future is, how it might affect our rights and our freedoms. So this is very kind of interesting. Here's a event point. Court uses and inspirations, rarely used alone. Courts rarely base the full legal decision only on the Ninth Amendment. So they play that game, well, yeah, but, it's not really, it's that kind of game. So a lot of times what happens is, they know the Ninth Amendment protects the Bill of Rights, so it's a little pain in the ass to say, well, we need to remove the Second Amendment. We need to abolish the Second Amendment. We need to rewrite the Second Amendment. But it's protected by the Ninth Amendment. There's a lot of other things in there that even as small as sure, it says what it says. That's why politicians hate the Constitution. The Constitution is our sword, our shield against politicians and their rhetoric. We're supposed to be in charge. We're the ones that are in charge of them. But they play the game now here. That's why they hate the Constitution. They want power as much as they can get their hands on. And fortunately, we're protected. That's what the Bill of Rights is there for, which politicians constantly trample over. So when you look at the Second Amendment paragraph, it says not to be infringed. And the Ninth Amendment says clearly it is protected under the entire Bill of Rights. So you can't just pick what you don't like and turn around and say, well, we don't recognize them. We don't recognize your First Amendment rights are what we decide. You hear this many times, we can ban this and ban that and not mess with the Second Amendment. Well, the Ninth Amendment says you can't do that. It's the Virginia court came up with this thing, dangerous and unusual, dangerous and unusual. That violates the Second Amendment too, which is protected by the Ninth Amendment. But they don't talk about that. They don't mention that. The fact they ignore Heller and Bruen. That's why New Jersey, New York, Delaware, and all the other 13 states controlled by Democrats totally ignore the Constitution. Because they have to then sit there and say, well, the Ninth Amendment says that we have to abide by all of the amendments, which they're not privileges, they're rights. Even though they're not listed in there, we have a lot more rights too, along with the amendments that are already there. So you have the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, the 16th Amendment, which after the Civil War, the Southern states tried to play a game with. But nobody really paid attention to the Ninth Amendment. And ever since then, it's been like a game. We don't recognize the Ninth Amendment. We don't recognize it. We don't see it. And that's what the same game they're playing today. We don't recognize the Ninth Amendment. We don't really see it. The Ninth Amendment protects the Second Amendment, protects the entire Bill of Rights. So you want to strip out the Second Amendment, you're going to wind up have to stripping out every other damn amendment out of the Constitution. So rather than try to do that, it's easier just to ratify or remove the entire Constitution. You see where this is gaming, right? You see how these politicians think. So if we decide to remove the Constitution, remove the Supreme Court, remove the President's office, remove the Senate, put all three branches of government in their hands, right? Degut or cut the Pentagon, change it to something totally different. You see how this works. And open the borders. Remove federal agents to now, and defund the police. There's a piece of history behind that too. I'll get to that later. This is scary because they don't believe in the Constitution, but yet these so-called governors and mayors and so forth who were in the military service to protect all this turn their back on this for the political party. The Ninth Amendment is very clear what it states. These politicians, if you just, when the COVID-19 came out, you couldn't say anything about COVID-19. Remember that? And all this purging on Facebook and all these algorithms and newspapers and you name it, right? They were violating the Ninth Amendment. This is also violated the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, which is a right, not a privilege. According to politicians, your rights are privileges, not rights. We didn't surrender our rights to an all-powerful sovereign. We didn't surrender a goddamn thing. Don't surrender anything. That Constitution is our sword and our shield. And it's our responsibility to protect it. We surrender that. We become the slaves. We surrender that. We become property to this government regime. I urge you to watch carefully. They violate the law. They violate the law over and over again. Well, they use their attitude and their money and their influence to protest, to distract the people with the truth. It's no damn different than what another country did with another group of people who were also socialist. And he took the same playbook from them. We'll talk about that another time. So then, keep your friends and family close. Do not be afraid to defend yourselves. And you know what? Hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. But a word of the wise. Don't surrender anything. You might want to do is probably get in contact with other states and other militias too. It wouldn't hurt. Coordination. We're all Americans. Black, white, Asian, Latino, Native American, Indian, we're all Americans. Maybe we should get a little closer together. We're stronger in numbers. Till then, you take care, and we'll catch you around.